What's up, and welcome to the Cover 2 Recap. I'm BruinSportsport.com publisher Edward Lewis. As always, this is Ryan Karchi, the UCLA OC Register beat writer. We're here today at Spalding Field, where UCLA just wrapped up its 9th day of spring ball. Ryan, players are dropping like flies out here left and right, and it's making for a very unique spring practice look. Miles Jack was missing today with a wisdom teeth injury, I guess you could call it. Malcolm Bunch left early with an undisclosed injury. John Lopez wasn't out on the field. Ian Tobler wasn't out on the field. Jayon Brown left early with what looked like a leg injury.
Zach Whitley left early.
I mean, guys are falling left and right here. It's created a lot of attrition, and in turn, they've actually had to go no pads, and it was more of a three-quarter day today.
Yeah, nothing too serious, so I don't think there would be any reason to worry going forward. But, you know, you're going to see this once you get through, 7 or 8 practices, which is kind of right where we're at right now, that, these guys kind of hit a wall physically and things start to change. So, again, nothing real serious to worry about, but I don't think we'll see Miles Jack for a few days. Just him recovering from his wisdom teeth operation. Other than that, everyone should be back as far as we know by the next practice.
They did get a couple guys back, wide receiver Eldridge Massington and linebacker Isako Savaianea, but they didn't really hit at all today, so there wasn't really a whole lot of evaluation that you and I could do. But you could get a look at the backup quarterbacks for really the first time this camp. We really took a long look at them. Tell me what you think about kind of Jerry Neuheisel versus Mike Faithful versus Ashanti Woolard.
At this point, heading into spring, I would have assumed that Ashanti Woolard would be the guy, and I think that's kind of what everyone is still assuming. But Jerry Neuheisel has done pretty well. I've been actually pretty surprised with him. He's more confident. He's definitely more consistent. I talked to him today, and he kind of said that was his main focus, that he wanted to be consistent. He wanted to be someone that they could rely on. And I think at this point, he's slightly ahead of Ashanti Woolard. Obviously, potential-wise, Ashanti has all those skills that you want. But Noel Mazzoni said today about Ashanti that, there are some plays where he shows flashes, and then there are other plays where he wants to choke him.
And then he repeated it.
In case we hadn't heard. But yeah, so there's definitely been some mistakes, we've seen out of Ashanti. He's still not quite polished when he needs to make those reads, although he's a little better at it. There were some times where he sailed on a few throws. He took a little too long. But obviously, he's still kind of the guy we're looking at most. But Jerry Neuheisel and even Mike Faithful, I know you mentioned, both of them have done, I would say, better than expected. What do you think?
I thought Mike Faithful actually had the best day today. I know he probably has zero shot at winning the backup quarterback job, and the job really should be Ashanti Woolard's. I know he's struggled out here from time to time and stuff, but his potential is so sky high. I think it just benefits the program more by getting him that backup reps, whether it's sink or swim kind of thing.
Yeah, he's definitely shown his arm strength. I mean, he's always kind of shown that, and he has that prototype quarterback body. But it's just the mental aspect of it, and sometimes his accuracy is a little bit off. I think with Jerry Neuheisel, he's shown a little bit more of that. But at this point, they haven't really said anything about the battle in particular. But you'd have to think this is something that'll probably be decided in the fall.
Let's get into top performers today. Give me 2 guys that really stood out to you, like we always do here.
We talked a little bit about Isako Savaianea coming back from his shoulder injury. I thought he looked great today. He looked fresh. Obviously, they didn't hit, so it's a little harder to judge. But he was pretty much in on every play. He was kind of had that vintage Eric Kendricks look, making tackles on almost every team rep. So, I was really impressed with him, especially given that, he wasn't a guy who necessarily stood out for me at the beginning of spring. And the other one, probably the biggest standout of the day, in my opinion, was Fabian Moreau. He's widely believed to be, and it has definitely earned the right to be the number 1 kind of defensive back at this point. The guy has just become a shutdown corner. I mean, he's sticking on wide receivers like glue. And today, I think it was a lesser day for the offense, but Fabian Moreau, I don't think I saw him get beat on a single rep the entire time. What about you?
Probably had like 6 or 7 pass breakups and even an interception in a day where it wasn't really a day where everybody was going full speed and stuff. But my 2 guys, starting with Zach Whitley, he came back from falling downstairs to play inside linebacker today. The first time he's played inside purely since about week 1 of spring ball. Looked great back at his natural inside linebacker spot. Had like 4 or 5 tackles in the first probably 7 or 8 plays of 11 on 11. Then that injury that he fell down the stairs kind of flared up on him, and he had to kind of sit out the rest of the practice. But
the coaches must have been watching the Cover 2 recap.
Yeah, to move him back to inside. I thought he was good. The other guy that had a monster second half of practice was Ellis McCarthy. That swim move he has is devastating. I mean, Scott Quisenberry, Carl Hewlick, Jake Brendel, Najee Torin all tried to stop him. He just swam right over him. When he wants to be good, he can be really the best defensive lineman on his team, which is saying something on the team with Kenny Clark and Eddie Vanderdoes and all that. It's just on, can you get that motor going 100% of the time with him?
The expectations for the defensive line, I think it's interesting because, you look at this group, and without Eddie Vanderdoes, it wasn't necessarily a group that we were going to look at that much this spring. But, Owo Odigizua has had a great spring, in my opinion. Really looked like an edge rusher that I think they can utilize in the fall. Kenny Clark, I've made it clear how much I've been impressed with him. And like you said, Ellis has definitely had a few great days.
That'll wrap up our coverage from Spalding Field today at UCLA's 9th day of spring practice. You can follow all of Ryan's UCLA coverage at Ryan_Karchi on Twitter and at OCRegister.com. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at EdwardLewisBSR and at BruinsSportsport.com. Until the next time, thanks for tuning in to the Cover 2 Recap.